The first money I started making was in college. So when I started first, just like starting as many businesses as I could. I dropped out because I wasn't smart enough. I was like in these classes and I was like, I could probably do a better job managing these people. Right. So let me go and like figure out, just understand it enough. Then I ended up majoring in like business economics. I was just like starting a lot of things and it was so cheap to start. So I started a site called everspeed.com. I still have it. It's an import car model website. I just like to import cars and then like these hot models. I did a site called collegeup.org, which was Craigslist for college students. Did ninjacard.com, discount card for students. So I basically was just like starting as many different businesses that I thought was like interesting. My first job out of college was at Intel. My first paying job was $50,000 a year with health benefits. Called, emailed, messaged, Slacked. They didn't Slack, Skyped for 7 years. And then finally it was like, all right, well, how do I make an amount where they're just gonna be like, okay, we have to take this offer. And so at $1.5 million, and I structured it interestingly where I gave them $500,000 up front. And then the other $1 million was over 5 years. So we're still paying it off. 16,000. Yeah. I didn't think people think about it. Like what I always encourage people is like, what are you waking up and doing for free? And then how do you make that your career? Yeah. So for me, it's like, I've been blogging and I feel like a dinosaur since. I've been blogging since 2000. Like okdork.com, my blog, it's like been there since the beginning of the internet, but like it's been there for a while. I love creating content. And like what I do at appsumo.com, we promote products. Like I just go and find cool products. We get a deal and we like deals and then we just promote them. And then somehow we make money doing that. Yeah. So yeah, just all along, I think it's really interesting to find the persistence. Like our domain name, sumo.com, it was 7 years to get that name. I have a thing called Community Next, Entrepreneur 27. It was just like events. It was just like bringing people together. And like, that is how I built up a network where like Tim Ferriss and I are talking, or Ramit Sethi, who's famous, and like Peter Thiel, like Peter's from Facebook, but like Max Levchin, James Hong from Hot or Not. So all these people was just as like, all right, how do I be around people to see like, what's the buffet of business that I like? Who can I be around? And then how can I use that to figure out my career? Yeah. Cause I was like, I don't know, I think my 20s, it was just like a lot of different, like trying to find out who I am. I just cold emailed Facebook. My resume. Yeah. And I was like, this is, if I'm going to go start a company, but if there's one company to go work at, this is the one I'm really excited about. And so I always think that for especially people earlier in their career, it's like, what are you already doing all day? Like, what are you working on? Like, are you on TikTok all day? Like you're watching YouTube. Well, try to find a job doing the thing you already. So for me, it was like, at that time, Facebook was so cool. I was like, oh, maybe I can try to get a job here. I think one of the things when you're applying for jobs that the bar is so low, everyone sucks so much. Like the bar is just so low to be excellent nowadays. You really don't have to do anything. Like you can do so little. So for me, like I brought mock-ups of Facebook. I'm like, okay, here's your site. Here's what I think you should do. I brought all these examples of work I was doing. And even today, like when people are applying jobs at AppSumo, I'm like, did you make a website? Did you do anything creative? Did you follow? Like no one follows up. So I think that's ultimately why I got the job there. I think my personal bank has like 1.5 million cash right now. I can show, we can show you guys, I have no problem. But the net worth is challenging. On the other side of that is if you have a company, you have equity. So we have appsumo.com. This year we'll do about 100 to 120 million. So how much is that company worth? $250 billion, and then I own about 60%. Ballpark net worth. I look at it mostly from cash. I actually don't look at the equity. Probably somewhere around 25 million. I was a senior and there's all these freshmen there. I was like, there's all these freshmen that want internships and jobs. So maybe I could actually just like hire them for cheap and then go to local stores and be like, hey, we'll do your marketing to the college. And I use these like, freshmen. So that actually made a few thousand. But when I think about in businesses, like you just got to be in the ocean. You got to be in the game. Right? You got to be on the surfboard in the ocean. And so for me, by doing that, that led to us creating Ninja Card. And Ninja Card was this like, one of the guys named Kenny was like, hey, why don't we do a discount card instead of like going and pitching these businesses? We have a discount card. And so because we were already active doing that, we led to the discount card. And that ended up doing $50,000 the first year. I've got to meet Bill Gates. I've got to meet Steve Jobs. I've got to meet some of these like titans. He came I think it was that day or a few days later. And he was like, I could sell the company right now for $1 billion. Now imagine for you, 24, and you have an opportunity to make like $600 million cash. And he's like, that's some real big conviction. And I think in business a lot, it's like, where's your conviction? And I admired his conviction. And I think as an employee there, I was just like, this guy's serious. And that was inspiring. He's like, I want to take over the world. I want to connect the world. I think what we're doing is like money. I didn't invest. So how it works in Silicon Valley is that, and this is how we do it at appsumo.com as well, is you get equity, let's say some percent, and you get your percent over 4 years, but you don't get the first quarter of it until after a year. It's called a cliff. So this is like very standard like tech company terms. Now some of them are doing like 5 or 6 year terms, which is interesting. So I had to stay there for a year to actually get the first quarter of it. And at the time I had 0.1% of the company. So whatever the company's worth now, I'd have 0.1%. So that's where I think the 190 million, it's not billion, comes from. I've only started doing it more later in my career as a leader at AppSumo, which is how are you really surrounding yourself with great people? And I think we hear this shit, but until you're around excellence, you're like, dude. And he had excellence. Like our support people were PhDs from Harvard. So that level of like impressiveness, like Aaron Siddick, he designed like Napster, Sean Parker. I mean, these guys are like top notch. The guys who created Quora. Like it's a lot of really impressive. And that was like him being able to surround himself with that was really impressive. I remember we'd work on things like I helped build Facebook mobile, I helped build Facebook ads, I helped build Facebook status. And we would work on something for like a month and then show it to him. And he's like, I don't think it's good enough. Here's what I would think you should change on it. I've met my founder 3 times. The day we started the company, the day we went public, and the day we sold it. And that's the 3 times I've like actually hung out with them. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way. I do think your point's great, which is like, if you're going to spend a lot of time with people, you should find people you really like. Yeah. And I think it's just always a sign in a company where like I didn't create a company so I could be around people I hate. I used to have friends at AppSumo that like aren't my friends anymore. Like they were friends, brought them into the company, and now they don't talk to me because it didn't work out. It's a weird mix. And also there's things where like the loyalty, like if someone else, a lot of times one of the questions I come back to at AppSumo is like, if we brought on the world's greatest CEO, what would they be doing? And I think that's a great question. Like if we brought on the world's greatest YouTuber, or world's greatest producer, or world's greatest like mechanic, how would they behave? And it's tough because there's some people in the company that I think we give the benefit of the doubt. We give a lot more to because of loyalty and friendship. We had there's this woman, Alona, who I work with, VP of operations. So she's like the day-to-day CEO. So she runs it. And we had this meeting about how many products should be on AppSumo. Should we have like very curated, like 10 products, 100, or like 10,000? And it was, I really admired that she fought. Like I like to see in business who has conviction. Like who cares? Because sometimes I'm like, I don't get, like at Facebook, they'd argue for hours about the topography and which font to use on a page. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever the customer and user wants to use, let them use. So it's just nice to see where like, how do people fight in productive ways? I did all their marketing, but it was just like, they had a great product. It was a great product. Yeah. I didn't really have to do much. And then I did games, but I was like, I don't play a lot of games. But so anyways, it was just like a combination of like all the things that didn't work out to finally be like, how do I finally just do the thing I really want to do? And even if it didn't make a lot of money, I'm going to at least be okay because I'll be the customer. And I think that's how people should be thinking about like, what's the problem that like, even our YouTube videos, I watch a lot of them all the time. I'm like, dude, this is cool. And I'm like watching, I'm like proud of myself, or I'm like watching, I'm like disappointed in myself. I'm like, you could have, but it's like, I like doing it, like what we get to do on the channel. So AppSumo was that. It was like, I love tech. I love startups. I like this new software that's coming out. Maybe I can just hit these people up and be like, I know you guys need customers. Everyone wants more customers. Can I get a deal on it? And then I'll promote it for you and then we'll split the profit. And that's kind of, and I was able to validate it for about $50 in a more or less a weekend. So that's when I'm trying to encourage people. I've helped a lot of people try to start companies, and I think everyone wastes too much time and wastes too much money. And so I want people to not waste any time, spend just a weekend and see if you can get a few customers, which is what I did with AppSumo. Yeah. We do have a marketplace listing. So anyone, like if you go to appsumo.com/sell, you can, if you have software, you can go and list it yourself now. And we have to approve it. And it's software targeted for small business owners. So the question is, why would someone do it? This is literally the best deal online for a software creator. So if you think about it, you created software. How would you get customers today? Buy ads, maybe
sponsorship,
do your own content, maybe PR, maybe like Google SEO, right? All those are cost money, take time, and not guaranteed. AppSumo, if we do a deal with you, we give you money guaranteed because we have an audience. There's free exposure, and you get customers now that you can potentially sell things in the future. There is no better way to promote new software than AppSumo. If there was, then I would stop AppSumo. So for a creator, it's like there's no money. You get it guaranteed. Plus, we also have we have a group we call betalings that actually review your product and then help you improve it before we launch it. We have a video team. We have a content team. There's a team that does like the images for you. So we do a lot of times better marketing than the product can do themselves. I was very self-conscious because like my last job, my last company, I think I made like 150 or so. And so when I started AppSumo, I didn't have anything. It was like $0 first year, 42,000 next year. This year, my salary is 175,000. That's my base salary. The first like 7 years of the company, I actually did the analysis. If I would have stayed at Intel, I would have made more money for the first 7 years of AppSumo. I actually plotted my salary, and I did a little bit of like inflation and like a salary adjustment versus my AppSumo salary got to like 75, 100. So Intel would have been a great deal. Yeah. And so I think some people miss out on this. People think entrepreneurship is like how you get rich. Having a good job is actually, my stepdad got pretty rich having like a pretty standard engineering job and doing like really safe investing. Yeah. But the past few years I make 7 figures every year. But I don't want to talk about the exact number because I feel bad for the people that work at the company. It's like, oh, why is he getting rich and I'm not? So and that's actually an interesting question. How do people get rich at companies? Is that you make more money for the company and the company has to give you more money. So we have made many millionaires, not many is relative. We made millionaires that work at AppSumo. If there's so like this year, my salary got cut in half because we wanted to hire more people. Or the expected salary at the end of the year. Yeah. Got cut in half because I was like, either I can make a lot of money or I can invest in the team and grow the business. I want to progress. But one thing I think is fascinating about money making and I'm guessing this is I'm assuming it's true for you, is that you get to a point where the money just, for me, doesn't really, I don't care. Like if we sell, like we probably, I think 2 days ago, we had a $300,000 day. Today's probably like $200,000 day. Like that's fucking a lot of money. I think that's crazy. But it doesn't do, that doesn't like, no chubby, no nothing, right? But if we like do a cool new marketing initiative or do a new product, or we like relaunch something for the website, launch something, that excites me. And so it's just interesting about like what the motivators are. For me, it's just progress. I guess I just like doing cool new things. I started the company 12 years ago. We brought this guy on, Eamon, and Eamon is just like Mr. Consistent. He's not Mr. Shiny Object. He doesn't like, he's just like, oh, this is working. Let's just keep doing it. And that went from 4 million to about 50 million in revenue just from him doing that. And so I think there's something that gets missed out on about boringness. Like boring is sexy. Like I read this article about these guys boating across America. I love it. Wall Street Journal Saturdays is phenomenal. It's free. I highly recommend it. And their trainer said, I want you to train without music. I want you to train without any stimulation. Just get used to being bored. And if you can get good at that when you're doing the ocean or anything, it's going to be easy for you. And I think Eamon has done an excellent job at being boring. Like he's like, ads work, let's keep doing ads. Email marketing's work, keep doing email marketing. And I do think my nature, even at AppSumo, like I've been back a year, I was like, oh, marketplace, we can let anyone list. Let's get 6,000. So we went from 600 to 6,000. Eamon would have gone from 600 to 1,000. There's different ways of approaching how to execute a business. Maybe we'll get to the same destination. But now I think it's just figuring out what that balance is of like shiny new shit and also just doing what fucking works and keep doing that. In terms of inflection points in the business, I think there's a few key moments. Number one, we did a giveaway. So I think one of the best ways to get business ideas is look at total fucking random industries. So I was like reading a women's magazine. And I don't know, it's also cool to read women's magazines. And in the back of the women's magazine had like a kitchen giveaway. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So that's the thing. We got to 250,000 subscribers in a week. And that definitely is probably 8 figures. I don't know about profit, but 8 figures of revenue over the past 7-8 years. My operating principle, I use the Amazon approach at our company, which is at the end of the year, I want 0 net income. And it means either we got distributions or we reinvested in ads or we bought servers. We reinvested all the money. So if you look at Amazon, for years they didn't make profit. It's because they reinvested it. So what we would normally do is that we make a fuck ton of money, and at the end of the year, there's like $3 million or $5 million left of profit. And then we give it some to the team. We always do a team trip. So like past few years, we go to Costa Rica or Hawaii or wherever, and we pay for everybody, all expenses paid. And then we buy all this stuff. And so basically we taper it down Q4. This year, we were trying to do it equally throughout the whole year. So every month it's 0. Not like basically Q1, Q3 was like make a lot of money and then spend all of it. Now it's like every month just try to hit net 0. So we're reinvesting all of it. The problem with that is just like if anything turns, like this recession hits potentially, which I'm trying to not worry about, trying to worry about what we can control. Like it could turn all this upside down. So I want us to have basically, I want to get it to about $200,000 in net income a month. And I think every business should get this. This is something, we have a thing called a MOM, Master Operating Manual. And it's basically what are the principles for how we operate as a business. So one of them is test and invest. And so Test and Invest is we basically launched this giveaway and we're like, oh shit, this fucking exploded. So then our second operating principle is double down. So we did a giveaway for life for the next like 6 months. Evernote for life, Photoshop for life, Netflix for life, and we're still paying for them. I've always been, I don't want to spend any money. I don't want to waste any time. And I want to figure out, is this something people actually want? Because I've done the other way, where I spent 6 months building a site called bettercade.com. It was sports betting. We launched it. No one wanted it. I built a thing for Disney for 3 months, finally had it for them. They didn't want it. And I was like, there's got to be another way to do this. So I always try to get people to, how do you do a pre-sell? How do you do validation? How do you ask people if they actually want to buy it and give you dinero, cash, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, whatever. And then from there, then you go build a product out. So this can go literally for any business.